Welcome to a world of thrills, a world of drama, of capes and tights, a world where death is a revolving door. Welcome to the Geek Matrix. It's the DC Comics Review Show number 157, the world's greatest comic show about the world's greatest superheroes. It's Rob here, as always, and joining me is my wonderful co-host, Brandon.
Hello, everybody. In my seventh new apartment in the last 2 years, but it's very nice because for anyone watching the video, I have a gorgeous new bookshelf which I have been able to use to store all of my comics, and I want to show off a little.
Awesome.
Everybody.
No, that's that honestly, I organized my comics yesterday and I would love to have a new bookshelf because I am overflowing.
I just I like it's like peak nerd, but I love organizing my stuff. I love like it's that feeling of like maybe you're just sitting on the floor, you're in a chair or something, and you're like trying to organize everything in that perfect way that you want it. And I have so much fun with it.
Yeah. And it really is a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean it's tedious, but it's great. Like you can put on some music, just put everything together. It's great.
Yeah. And like I discovered, dude, and this isn't even the first time, it's not even like the fourth time it's happened, but like going to Dollarama and finding these $5 graphic novels, which is so fucking choice. I forget which ones I've already had. So I bought duplicates. And I already knew about a few, but through my sorting, I found another 4. So
gosh,
I have
serious?
8 duplicate hardcover, some hardcover, some paperback, just sitting on my bed right now, waiting to be given to somebody.
Which books are they? I'm curious.
Mostly New 52 and Rebirth.
Okay.
Well, actually, I think it's only New 52 and Rebirth. There's 2 Aquaman from New 52, a Wonder Woman from New 52, Earth 2 from New 52, and then for Rebirth there's Detective Comics, Wonder Woman, and Action Comics, possibly 2 Detective Comics.
Just forget that you read them and then bought another one?
Yeah, not even that I read it because I hadn't. So a lot of the graphic novels I'm buying because like they're awesome and I want the collection. Like I've read them before, and I was like, okay, like I enjoy this. If I ever want to read it again, it's just on my bookshelf.
Oh yeah.
It's so weird. I haven't reread it since I bought it.
Oh,
so
yeah.
all I'm doing is looking at the cover and like, oh, this looks cool. Do I already have it? I'm like, nah, I don't think so. And then I get home, like, fuck. Yeah.
Oh no, honestly, I'm right there with you because like I've been doing that with a couple of especially the Rebirth ones that I was reading as I came out, and I think like I've been trying to complete the Hals and Pals collection because that was one that like I didn't really buy the floppies for that one.
Yeah.
But I just kind of on a whim, I was like, I think it must have been somewhere, and they had volume 3 on sale for like half off, and I was like, yeah, I remember, like that was a good arc. I'll pick it up. And then I found volume 1 somewhere else.
Right.
And then I just, the idea started forming as in my head. I was like, well, I don't know, maybe it would be nice to fill out the rest of the collection. So I think right now I have 1, 3, 5, and I've been trying to track down 7, and then see.
That was a really good series. Like I'll admit,
I have like fond memories of that run.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's like, as you like, I don't think I've reread them since I bought them. I just kind of like good run. And I liked it, and I just like having it in my collection.
So of Hal and Pals, I have volume 1 and volume 5, and oddly enough, for Rebirth, of all the Rebirth books I have, I've read those 2 multiple times.
Really?
Volume 5, honestly, is one of my favorite ones to read, just because of like the content in it. There's the Superman Hal Jordan team up, and then it goes into the Four Horsemen.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, which is at this point such a fucking iconic story.
Yeah,
it's honestly really good.
I think the one that I definitely want to reread sooner rather than arc, which is Sinestro's Law, and it's just kind of how going to town on the Sinestro Corps by himself, because everyone had disappeared and what is that? Edge of Time? I don't even know the name.
Yeah, well,
Um,
they went back to like the third world or
yeah,
something like that. It was
something
really
like that. And Hal didn't know where they
that one
were
was
because he was also
confusing.
like renegade at that time or some shit.
Yeah.
But I remember I liked that story a lot because it was just like it's like peak Hal just going to town on
Yeah.
the
Just
Sinestro
wrecking
Corps
some
people.
yellow lanterns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I haven't reread that like since it came out, so it'd be nice to revisit that one for sure.
Yeah. There's some fun Guy Gardner moments in that too
Oh yeah. Oh my.
when they come back.
No, I don't remember which arc it he goes to. I forget what planet it is, but he basically goes to pick a fight with Arkillo. It was probably one of my favorite arcs in
Oh yeah.
because he just like punches his eye out and he gets the shit kicked out of him too. But it's like, oh, I'm trying to get your respect, and I love that. And I'd love to
Yeah.
reread it at some point.
I think that was in GLC for New 52, but I can't remember when.
Okay.
But I remember that story well. It's also one of my favorites. It's just
Yeah.
it's such a Guy Gardner moment, such a great one.
Yeah.
Especially since I'm reading Guy Gardner Reborn right now. And like I'm so used to current Guy Gardner, the Guy Gardner that's been around since Rebirth, like Green Lantern Rebirth in 2000s, and I didn't know that like Guy was not always this tough. And I'm reading Guy Gardner Reborn, and he's like picking fights with Lobo, but like he knows he's not going to win.
Yeah.
He's like he actually goes to Lobo's like, teach me how to fight. Like,
Mm.
what? Who the fuck are you?
Well, it's funny because the Guy Gardner exposure was definitely like the 2000s era, you know, John
Yeah.
stuff and then beyond. So I remember going back and reading Justice League International for the
Mm,
first time. That was also kind of a shock too, because he's like insufferable in that series. I mean, he definitely, you know, has an ego in
yeah.
the more modern stuff, but like you go and read the Giffen and DiMatteo stuff, and like every word out of his mouth is an insult at someone else in the team or some kind of braggadocio. Like it's painful to the point where
Yeah.
I think I mean I don't want to spoil the run, but for people who haven't read it, there's a moment where like he bumps his head basically and it
Yeah.
loses personality. As I'm sure you know, they were tired of him being such a dick. They're just like, okay, we gotta like tone it down for a little bit until he gets
Yeah.
his person. Yeah, those
I,
first 6 issues are because it's like, oh my god, I want to strangle you so you can shut the
yeah.
fuck up.
Which made that one punch from Batman so much more
Oh yeah,
gratifying.
so
Yeah.
fine.
It's why it's still to this day one of the most iconic moments in
Yeah.
comics.
Well, I mean that and just like the reaction from everyone else in the team, like
Yeah.
the fact that like no one has really any sympathy. I think I forget the line that Martian Manhunter says, but it makes me laugh every time where it's just like, "Oh, Gardner's on the floor" or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, hello everybody. I bet you're wondering why I called you here. Is Guy Gardner on the
Yeah,
floor?"
oh my god, so great. It's so great. So anyway,
And Dinah just like freaking out that
mm,
she missed it.
I missed it. Yeah. And you
Yeah.
have I forget if it's Ted or a booster that's just like one punch, and so it's
I
so perfect in every
I
way.
think it was Ted that was doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's so ecstatic.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
that I never read too much like I didn't read much past that arc in JLI. So I didn't even know until recently that guy had that like bump in his head that made him such a nice person.
Yeah, it's
And
like
I read that recently, like, holy shit, I need to
it's
read the rest of
it was
JLI.
like I know it's like this brief period. I think it's I forget how long it goes. It's more than 10 issues or something.
Yeah.
Because I kind of read that series in a rush. I still haven't finished it. I kind of dropped off around issue 30 or so. Um, but yeah, there's a point it goes on for like a little bit and then eventually his personality comes back. But I think because they bring in Gnort as kind of like the secondary lantern. And I think it's during that period when he still has that like whole nice attitude going on. So it's funny seeing him interact with another Green Lantern as well as his fellow teammates, and he's all like
Yeah.
sweet and kind.
And
It's
if his reaction to Nord is anything like it was in Guy Gardner Reborn, like He just treats Gnort like shit.
Oh man. He's that extra baggage of just like you knew me at my worst,
Yeah.
hated me at my nicest.
Yeah. All right. That was a nice little tangent. I like
As
that.
per usual.
So Josh is not here this week. He's off doing some other stuff. So I will take over the dad joke of the week.
Oh
I can't
God.
believe I forgot to go to the gym today. That's 5 years in a row now.
God.
That's not even the one I had pulled up, but like I lost the one I had pulled up.
Not better.
Oh yeah, I was once so broke I couldn't afford to pay my electricity bill. Those the darkest days of my life. Yeah, that's the one I had
Do we
pulled
do, do we really? This is the torture me segment.
up. Okay, one more.
Oh God.
What do you get when you cross a policeman and a skunk?
Oh, what?
Law and odor.
No more, please. I beg of you.
There's an Instagram profile. It's just
Of course there is.
oh man, I just forgot the title, but it's like dad jokes or shitty dad
Dad
jokes or something like
jokes
that. Yeah.
that will make your kids not speak to you anymore.
Yeah. There's some really good ones on there. It's hilarious. All right. Well, y'all know why we're here. We're here for books, and there's not a lot this week. I mean, there technically is a lot, but at the same time, there's not.
Mhm.
Obviously, we're as usual, we're splitting it up in between a free show, which is this one, and our bonus subscriber show, which you can access by joining our Discord server for up to not up to wow, why did I say it like that? $2.99 a month US. You can access our Discord, chat with us anytime you want. Honestly, we got people all over the world, so there's usually somebody awake. And bonus show every week of our DC Comics reviews, among a few other aspects as well, which are a lot of fun. Before the show today, we are looking at Night Terrors All Around Titans, Night Terrors Action Comics, and Night Terrors Detective Comics. Nothing but nightmares.
Nothing but nightmares.
This has
The
certainly
series
been
is
a
giving me
nightmare.
nightmares. Yeah.
Yeah. Like was maybe halfway through the Night Terrors books to review this week, and I messaged you guys, and I was just like, I'm getting Night Terrors fatigue at this point. It's just too much of one story.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, we'll get into the specifics later, but I think
Brandon, your sound cut out.
okay. Yeah, sorry. I was fiddling with my headphone wire, and I think it came loose for a little bit.
Okay.
Sorry, what was I saying?
I don't know. I couldn't hear you.
Okay. Well, I think it was something along the lines of we'll get into the specifics of Night Terrors later, but the main story has been so thin that it's kind of hard to really get into it, and the tie-ins feel less than important in some situations. But
Yeah.
we'll talk about that in detail a little bit later.
Yeah. As some people say, let's fuck that pig when we get to it.
Is that some kind of saying?
Apparently, I don't even
Oh.
remember where I heard it.
Mm.
Let's fuck this pig. It was either Letterkenny or it was God, what was that show about the tech guys made Pied Piper? Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley. Yeah.
Yeah. It was either Letterkenny
God.
or it was Silicon Valley.
It might have been Silicon Valley because that sounds vaguely familiar. Actually,
Yeah.
it sounds like something that Dinesh probably would have said.
Oh yeah, I was thinking even Ehrlich, but
Yeah,
or Dinesh, or even
yeah.
What's his name? The goth.
Oh, oh my God.
Shit.
How am I
Guilfoyle.
just blanking on all the names right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guilfoyle.
Guilfoyle.
I can never forget Jared.
Of course. Jared is essential.
The Night Terrors.
Oh my God, it's speaking in German.
Oh
possibly
god.
references to like a Nazi past. I don't know. They just like kind of dropped it and then never explained it. It's so
Honestly,
weird.
that I loved that aspect because
Yeah.
it gave so much to the character. Just like there's this dark past you will never know
Yeah, yeah.
about.
Well, Jared was like, he would
He's the
just,
nicest guy.
he's the nicest guy, but he would say things and they were like so fucked up, but he would say them in like the most casual manner where he's just like, oh my God, he was like living in the Pied Piper garage or something, like when they were still in Ehrlich's incubator. And he said something like, oh yeah, I just pretend, that my skin is my home and I'm sleeping inside it. And I'm like, what the that is
And I'm
so
always
weird and
home.
awful. And I'm always home. And I was like,
Yeah.
don't ever say that. That's horrible.
Yeah.
But
Or
yeah.
like he'd be describing trying to get more funding for Pied Piper and be like, it's just like when I was homeless and I have to turn a trick
Yeah.
for
Oh my
money.
God. Oh my
What?
God. Can you say that again, please?
But
But
my
yeah.
absolute favorite Jared moment, my honestly might be my favorite moment of the entire series,
Uh,
apart from the jerk off equation in season one,
God.
is like season four or something,
Hmm.
and Jared and Dinesh are driving around looking for somebody.
Uh,
So they go to some camp.
oh, is this the you want to die today,
Yes,
motherfucker? Oh my
he
God,
said that.
yes.
I was paused. I was howling. I was like,
Well, because like
I need to
he
watch this
he
4 more
says it
times.
in like just the most like direct and
Casual.
straightforward way. It's so
Yeah.
great. Like he just leans out, like or
It's like,
Dinesh
dude.
like leans that way. It's just like, do you want to die today, motherfucker? And he's like touches his skin. It's so great. Oh my God, the
It's
delivery
perfect.
is so perfect.
He's such a funny guy.
Yeah, no, Jared is 100% essential.
Yeah. That show would not be what it is without Jared.
Oh
I
yeah, Jared.
honestly like every character brought something to the table, but Jared, I think,
Oh yeah.
really sold the rest of it.
Well, I think Jared and Jin Young were consistently the ones that got
Fucking
me
Jin Yang.
would get me to laugh just
Oh
like the most
god.
hysterically.
I
Yeah.
eat
Oh my
the
God.
fish.
I eat the fish.
Have you
I
watched
eat
I
the
Jimmy
fat
Jimmy
and oh my God, his stand-up is great.
yeah,
Yeah.
Jimmy O Yang. Yeah,
Jimmy O
he's
Yang.
actually
Yeah, I
really
love his
funny.
stuff.
Yeah. God, he's so funny.
Are we
Ehrlich
are
Bachman is
we
a fat pig.
are we ever gonna talk about this stuff for the show? If I feel like left unchecked, you and I would just go on tangents for 3 hours.
This is why
Not that
we
I'm
need Josh here to
complaining,
keep us on
but
track.
I know.
Just one last thing because I never get to talk about Silicon Valley. The
Yes. Oh my
very
God.
last bit, one of my favorite Jin Yang moments is after Ehrlich had to leave the show and Jin Yang was trying to prove that Ehrlich was dead. So he got an actual pig. This is Ehrlich's body because he's a fat pig. Your sound's gone again.
How's it now?
That's good.
Am I back?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I
that's
get it.
weird.
But for some reason, every time I like slightly tug, it loses the sound. But yeah, it's just
Mm.
like white body is too expensive to ship to China and then bag. So I get the pig and I melt the body. Oh my God, it's so great.
It's just fucking
Oh,
perfect.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I kind of missed that show. I kind
yeah.
of jumped in a little bit late. I think season 4 was when I started watching it more
Oh
regularly.
yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, it was really good. It didn't it wasn't quite the same, unfortunately, by the end as most shows are, but
Yeah.
it still rang true.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. So comic books before we get into our
Something like that.
reviews. Yeah. Are you up to date on all the big news that came out of SDCC last weekend that we did not talk about? Excuse me.
Yes, for the most part. And I vaguely remember that we talked about the Godzilla, I almost said Mothman. No, the Godzilla King Kong Justice League book
Yeah.
and
Shit.
the other one.
What was it? It's the other one that
Um,
got leaked early. Oh,
Amazon's Attack.
Amazon's
Yes.
Attack, yeah.
Yes, we talked about those two, but there were a couple of other announcements. I'm not sure how much you wanted to say, but I'll just get the previews in the meantime.
At the very least, we could talk about Tom Taylor's announcement.
As my reference.
Right.
But
I
yeah,
was,
should we talk about some of the new books?
yeah, I was gonna say at the very least we can bring up Tom Taylor's announcement.
Yes.
And for the life of me, I actually don't remember what it is right now.
So that is, let me just pull up the article so I can have all the specifics, but it is an event called Beast World.
Right, yeah.
That he's going to be doing with, let me just make sure I have all the specifics. Yes, okay. So a new event that will be spinning out of the main Titan series, but also the Tales of the Teen Titans miniseries, called Beast World, that is going to focus on a Beast Boy that essentially has to become a version of Starro or the same species as Starro in order to stop some kind of threat, but unfortunately it may come at the cost of his sanity and his heroism and all that stuff. And basically it's just kind of the big event that Tom Taylor will be doing for the Titans book. Although potentially another book that I won't spoil, but it may also be including another character that Taylor has been associated. I just gave it away. But anyway, this is yes, Titans Beast World, an event that will kick off in October with the Tales of the Titans #4 final issue, and then we'll continue in November with the Titans Beast World one-shot, written by Tom Taylor with art from Ivan Reis, which is always awesome.
Yep.
But yeah, how are you feeling about this concept?
I'm genuinely interested. I'm not gonna say excited yet,
Yeah.
but I'm very interested.
Mhm.
Titans is getting its first Justice League-esque crossover story, and I'm all for it. Like it's about time.
Yeah.
And to put Beast Boy front and center, like looking, I don't remember what website I was reading with the info on it, and the preview art looks like some evil, I say evil, but like beastly version of Starro is showing up and is turning people into beasts. But Beast Boy having the ability to shapeshift between beast and human is basically immune to it. So he's really the only one that can combat this and try and save the people from turning into human or turning into beasts.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm probably in the same camp as you, where I wouldn't say I'm like super excited about this event, but I'm more excited about kind of what it means, because as you said, it's the Titans kind of first big story, Justice League-esque story that'll kind of propel them. I mean, they're already really front and center of the DC universe, at least as their premier team right now, but I feel like this is an even bigger escalated threat, which should prove a worthy task for them. So yeah, I'm excited for what it means for the team. I don't necessarily love that it's interrupting the main story that's going on right now with Brother
Yeah.
Blood and everything. So I'm hoping that this is like they either find a way to tie it all together, or the Brother Blood story would end prior to this, and then this would just be kind of a continuation.
What month is this supposed to come out? November? Your sound cut out again.
All right. Yeah, those are coming off. This is becoming too much of a problem.
All right.
Yes, but no, it said the one shot, at least with Tom Taylor and Ivan Reis, is supposed to come out in November, but the prelude story will be in October.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's a good possibility they might have the Brother Blood story finished.
Okay.
Because Tom Taylor did say the next issue, he described it as like a bottle episode issue about Brother Blood's new MO. and like how he came to be in that situation. And then the
Okay.
story picks up again in issue 4.
Yeah.
So issue 5, if my math is right, should be in October.
Mhm. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Wait, no, Titans isn't going right now.
Oh, right, because of Night Terrors. So that would
Yeah.
be
So it might pause it. It might just,
God.
unless the story finishes in issue 4, which is really dumb.
Okay, yeah. But again, my concern is just because like we already, well, maybe not, I shouldn't say we, but I know that I have had some problems with Tom Taylor's pacing in the past, and my concern
Yeah.
is putting the brother, well, I guess it's Brother Eternity now, but putting
Yeah.
like the Brother Eternity and the Church of Eternity story on pause to do Beast World, to then come back to that story. Like I'm worried it's gonna throw people off or just have people lose interest in that story, and then by the time
Yeah.
they come back, no one will really care. So I don't know. It's if they don't wrap it up, that would be, I think, my only concern with the series. But yeah.
Yeah. It's certainly going to be interesting to see how it turns out.
Mhm.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. Any other big news?
Yeah, well, it's really just more detail on some stuff that we already kind of knew that was coming up. So SDCC gave us bigger looks at some of the upcoming events, more events. We love events. They're so much fun, including Gotham War. And so just more reveals and stuff like that. The I guess I don't even know what chapter. Oh, the 4th chapter of the event, Batman 138 apparently is going to see father versus son, although they don't specifically say which father and which son, but the cover alludes to it being Batman versus Nightwing, which of course is what everyone wants to see again.
Yeah. I mean,
And
it was kind of confused because the cover really did allude to that with Nightwing,
yeah,
but like Jason is a big player in Gotham War if
mhm,
you're reading the solicits,
yeah,
and it sounds like he might be on Catwoman's side.
potentially. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
and apparently it's going to kind of change his position in Gotham.
Yeah.
Like, but anyway, yeah, there's more detail there. So if you are excited for Gotham War, then some of these things should definitely get you even more hyped. Certainly some of the covers from Jorge Jimenez are absolutely gorgeous. I'm not sure how I'm feeling about this event just yet. I'm still very much on the fence about it, and to be honest, I'm kind of more focused on what's going on with Batman in his main title rather than the crossover with Catwoman. But we'll see how this story plays out. It could be something very interesting.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin, the new title from Joshua Williamson, revealed its 2nd issue, as well as a new villain, apparently a protege of everyone's favorite red herring, Hush from
Yeah.
Batman Hush, called, right, this is a new villain inspired by Hush, I should say, called Shush.
And
Yeah,
yes, it was supposed to be a joke, but
it
then
was
they
supposed to
decided
be
to
a
run
joke.
with it.
Yeah. And like this would be a great time for me to like, oh, you can't make this shit up, kids, but apparently you can. I don't know. Like, yeah, it's very easy to go like, wow, this is a stupid fucking name because it is. But a lot of this stuff remains to be seen. Maybe it'll be an interesting character. I don't hate the idea of someone being inspired by Hush, a totally kind of whatever character in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Beyond Hush centric stories, he's just like a kind of a whatever villain. But if someone were to really be inspired by that character, I would kind of want to know why and what the story is. So I'm interested in that. But yeah, the name is not very great, I have to say. But yeah, we also got some more detail on the new Golden Age titles: Wesley Dodds the Sandman, Jay Garrick the Flash #1, and Alan Scott the Green Lantern #1. Just some more cover reveals and official information regarding the solicits and everything. And then there is a Supergirl special coming from Mariko Tamaki and Skylar Patridge in October, right on Halloween, actually. And that apparently is supposed to tie into some of the developments with the super family right now, Metropolis, which is exciting. And speaking of them, October also is the 850th, or will see the release of the 850th issue of Superman, which is going to be a big anniversary issue spectacular. And apparently we'll have some new status quo shifting stuff for the Superman universe, as is expected, but
Yeah.
definitely kind of exciting there just to see where the direction goes. And then I'm trying to remember what else happened. Oh, there is the return of Superman 30th anniversary special, because we had our Death of Superman anniversary special last year.
Yeah.
Gotta have the Return of Superman anniversary special, basically doing the same thing they did last year. It's all the original creative teams from the 4 Superman books at the time. So Adventures of Superman, Superman the Man of Steel, Action Comics, and the main Superman title at the time, all returning to do a short story set around that period. So should be exciting.
It's actually not set during that period.
Oh,
So it's 4 stories featuring each of the characters that were present, each of the new Supermen from that
Right.
period. So it's going to be one about Eradicator, Cyborg Superman, Connor, and Steel.
oh, okay. I
But
see.
it's going to be looks into where they are in the present day.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Or
okay.
more updated looks, which I did find kind of interesting because all
Yeah.
4 characters have been present in a book
Okay.
recently.
Well, this solicit is very deceptive then, because it says to celebrate the reign of the Superman, the Superman, and the return of Superman, DC has brought back the original creative teams for new stories set in the wake of Superman's death. But,
Yeah, that really does sound like it's taking place back then.
yeah, so I don't know. Maybe this thing is just lying. I don't know. But anyway,
I don't know.
the original creative teams are coming back to write new stories is the gist of it. So
Yeah.
if you liked last year's one shot, this is just kind of a continuation of that same model.
Yeah.
So exciting at least.
And Dan Jurgens is involved, so keep in
Yes.
mind any new stuff he makes will probably show up in a backup somewhere.
It could, it very well could. Yeah, we
Yeah.
got Doombreaker in last year's Death of Superman special, and that's been continuing in the Action Comics backup. So who knows where
Yeah.
he might continue his stuff in future, or how he might continue his stuff in future. Another interesting book announcement, Batman City of Madness. We love our Batman books. Yet another one. But I admit to being a little bit biased in this one because it's from one of my favorite creators, Christian Ward. And is apparently going to be a cosmic horror tinged take on Gotham and the Court of Owls. So stay tuned for that. But I adore Christian Ward's artwork. It's got this
Oh,
like
hell yeah.
wonderfully, I don't even know how to describe. I mean, cosmic is a good way to describe it. It's almost like space tinged. I don't have a better way. I'm not an art major. I don't have a better way to describe it, but if you look at it, you know what I mean. It's got like this great, almost like space tinged, dreamlike atmosphere. That really is quite wonderful. But yeah, that's all the news I got in terms of new book announcements and some stuff out of SDCC. How about you?
Just a thing about that Supergirl book from Mariko Tamaki.
Mhm.
The solicit I read, it was describing it's Kara being kind of feeling like she doesn't have a place in the world right now and in the
Mhm.
family, and she's trying to
Yes.
explore to find her place and grow up. But yet, so that's happened with Kara, it's
Mhm.
happened with Paige, it's happened with Connor, it's happened with John. Who
Yeah.
the fuck is next? Why? I think the super family just needs to go to
Mhm.
super therapy.
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Well, they've
It's-
all been through quite a lot these past couple years, so
But
Lord knows
at a
use
certain
it.
point, if any of them, if this many of them feel like they're being alienated from the rest of the family, I
Yeah,
think they all need to just go sit, have a coffee, and talk it out. because none of them were trying to alienate anybody.
Yeah. Well, hey, at least it's realistic. I mean, what family isn't dysfunctional at this point?
Yes, but
Um,
like it feels like they're all feeling like everyone's moving on without them, and
Yeah.
nobody's fucking doing that,
It's
with the exception of Connor.
basically.
Yeah.
Well, to answer your question as to who's next, I mean, I think the better question is like who's remaining. Because if we've already got Power Girl covered, Superboy, now Supergirl,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the only people left is like, well, we're kind of having, I mean, to a different extent, I would say, but with Steelworks right now, where it's kind of John like trying to establish the Steelworks legacy separate from the Super family. So I feel like the only one left is like Keenan
Natasha.
or the Super Twins.
That they were on my mind, but I feel like
Yeah.
Keenan just wouldn't care. He'd be like,
Probably, yeah.
all
And
right,
I mean, the
I'm gonna go
Super
back to
Twins, like,
China. Peace.
yeah, the Super Twins, like, they just got back from
Yeah.
War World, so, or they just left War World, so they really don't need to be exploring places outside of Metropolis. The
Exactly.
one place that
They're just
like
happy to
them
be
home.
there.
They're just happy to be there, have a
Yeah.
home. But yeah, I agree. I think they need to just go somewhere, have dinner, talk it out, cry it out, figure something out.
So the only other thing I have from SDCC,
Mm.
DC Animated announced 2 more movies coming. Very interesting choices, I must admit. One of them is Watchmen, which at this point I kind of wish they just let it lie.
Third time's the charm. Third
Yeah,
time they'll
like
they'll
I
get
think
everyone to love it. 'Cause the
at this
first one,
point we should just listen to Alan Moore.
yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Because I
Yeah,
think they're just like, okay, the first one, some people liked it, some people didn't, but like we tried, and yes, it looked very accurate, but it wasn't quite Watchmen. The second one, a lot of people loved, it's critically acclaimed, but like also kind of divisive and not exactly an adaptation of Watchmen, just kind of, doing its own thing, a sequel, if you will.
yeah.
So I think now they're just like, okay, we're gonna try and do it and make everyone happy. Which I have to say, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like choosing the animated route is the very safe way of doing that, because I mean, I guess it depends on who you ask, but I feel like with an animated feature, you don't have to worry about like, do we have the right person who looks like the character or anything? Like,
Exactly,
you can just
yeah.
kind of animate it around the voices and everything, and plus you can stylize it so it looks like the comic and everything. So
That's
yeah, I
the
don't know. I feel like
thing though, like a lot of these
yeah.
animated movies, they don't necessarily get stylized to
Mhm.
look like the comic. They just have whatever animation studio is drawing it, and then they do that animation
Yeah.
style. I think the only one that might have been stylized is when they did that. I don't remember what the story arc was called, but it was Superman Batman against Doomsday, or not Doomsday, against Darkseid with Supergirl. When they
Yeah.
adapted that
Oh,
story,
was that Apocalypse or something?
it might have been.
Yeah.
Oh, they did both of the big arcs of Superman Batman, didn't they?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
so that those movies are the only ones I could say are a little more stylized or
yeah.
artistically, but like everything else is just kind of like, all right, this is Bruce Timm.
Yeah. They've tried, and sometimes it works, because the New Frontier, like, they took
Oh
the
yeah, I
layouts
forgot about
straight from
that. Yeah,
Darwin Cook, and
that was
that
heavily
looked pretty
Cook
good.
inspired. Yeah.
And then I was trying to think, there was something else. I don't remember. It'll come to me later. But I guess kind of with the adaptation of All-Star Superman, they were trying to do like a Frank Quietly inspired design, and I think it only kind of worked. So I guess it just depends, but sometimes it can have some nice results.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm not entirely against it. I agree. I'm with Alan at this point. I'm just like, let's just put it to bed. Like, we
Yeah.
tried and it didn't work.
It was relevant in 85 and maybe for another decade. I know
Yeah.
I read it in high school and I loved it, and to the point that I bought my own copy. It's sitting in front of me right now. But like it's not necessary to revisit it this many times. This is an issue DC
No.
has where like they get one graphic novel that's critically acclaimed and everybody that says it's like amazing, and for the next 30 years just like, okay, yeah, print, 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 print. Like, no, it's like,
Absolutely.
why are you giving us 15 versions of Watchmen, 20 versions of Batman Hush, and like trying to push more Crisis sequels on us when we just want Kyle Rayner collected? Like,
That's because that's what you want. It's not what the world wants, apparently. But
I see nothing like people with the announcement recently about the Kyle Rayner compendium.
mhm.
All the comments I see are just like, okay, but when are we getting the rest?
That's what I'm saying. Was that not literally my first reaction
Yeah,
when you sent that news in our Discord? Because I
like
was
it's
just like,
great and
okay,
all,
I
but
was like, this is all well and good. Like I love that they're embracing the compendium format, but
yeah,
like you are not playing anyone. You're not fooling me. I know that this
no,
is just reprinting the material from the first Green Lantern Kyle Rayner trades from like 5 years ago. So
yeah,
like, yes, this is cool, but talk to me when you print compendium #2, and then
yeah,
we have some
exactly,
stuff that we haven't had printed before.
yeah,
The reason I think a lot of people just want that stuff, and this actually ties into your point about the fact that they keep printing Watchmen every 5 fucking years with some new version, is because, and I'm sure you know this, when you seek out a lot of these old issues, and I usually don't love this because I kind of prefer to have the original copies, but with some of these books, what people really want is the remastered version. So updated colors, like stuff that just it reads better.
yeah,
Because some of it, like it's printed on really cheap paper stock from like 1994 or 1996 or something, and some of it's held up pretty well, but some of it hasn't, and you just kind of need that high definition version that's easier to read, especially
yeah,
if you're trying to revisit that stuff. For me, I think that doesn't really work for some of the older stuff from like the 70s or whatever. That's just a personal preference of mine. But well, for some of the books, I think especially from those of the 90s and early 2000s, where they were kind of transitioning from the paper stock to like the glossy stuff back to the paper stock, which was a lot cheaper and printed darker. People just want updated versions of that so you can read it. Excuse me, sorry. I'm getting so worked up I had to sneeze. But no, I think tying into your point, like they print a new version of Watchmen every 5 years, and
yeah,
changes between those versions are minimal at best. Like I think my teacher had a book, because we also read that in high school, and my teacher had one of those copies from like, I don't know, like 2008 or something. But we had like the updated copies from like 2019 or something. And the resolution between the two books is identical. Like it might as well be. I mean, maybe the paper quality is different, but very little has been updated between them except for, maybe a new forward or like some back matter or whatever. So I don't know. I'm just like, I agree. And yes, I understand that these books probably don't sell as well as Watchmen because, yeah, you can order 100, 200 copies of Watchmen for every, 5 to 10 schools in your average American state or whatever. But I guess some of us diehard comic fans just want the books that have never gotten to be printed yet, books that
exactly,
haven't made it in the collected format. But
yeah.
anyway,
Like
yeah,
ideally, Watchmen is the perfect graphic novel to have during your graphic novel unit in high school.
yeah.
It really is one of there's that Mouse and fuck, I don't even remember the one that my school covered at this point. But like there's a handful. Watchmen is definitely one of them. It's like the perfect graphic
Yeah,
novel to
it's
study
usually
in high
those
school.
two. Yeah, Persepolis is one they've been doing a lot recently. I remember we read that one too. Oh God, what's another one? Usually some Scott McCloud book, either like How to Read or Understand Comics, or The Sculptor or something like that. Like they're good books. I don't want to, give you the impression that they're not good books. They're definitely worthy of the praise that they've gotten, but yeah, it's usually like one of about 15. You're not going to be reading Sinestro Core War in your high school graphic novel class, much as I would love to. But yeah, that just wasn't going to happen.
Hey, you totally could, because grade 11 English, we had to do a book report. We were able to
Yeah.
choose the book, and
Uh,
I did Civil War
oh, nice.
with the death of Captain America. And the guy sat beside, he did another graphic novel, but I don't remember what he did.
Yeah.
But
My
I tried to pick
last
one that was like at least somewhat educational.
Oh yeah, no, that's good. No, my
Yeah.
last English class of high school, it was we got to do like this kind of like free because it was a class on Native American literature, and we had to like kind of do our interpretive project or something on like a book related to Native American literature or something that incorporated elements of Native American literature. And in my superior genius, I did a project that basically was just a summary of East of West.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
got an A on that one. And that was
Nice.
like, that was supreme big brain moment because I made it work. And she was actually
Yeah.
very impressed. She was like, oh, I love how artsy it is. So you can do it.
Exactly.
Bob and I are proof that you can actually turn your comic reading obsession into an art form that will get you good grades.
Yeah. Definitely. Um so the second movie and really the last bit of news before we get into our books is Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths, which I think is another very interesting choice, not in the same vein as Watchmen, but DC's going all the way back to the 80s with this one.
Oh yeah.
I'm very interested to see what they're going to put in this, because it seems like a really big story to fit in a 2-hour animated feature.
Yeah.
There's a lot to that
I
story.
I haven't really been following what DC's been doing with their I don't even know if they're still doing the connected animated universe.
They're supposed to be like
Okay,
everything that's supposed to come out from now is like one universe again.
right.
But
Yeah.
these two choices are kind of an interesting set to join that universe. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, because I'm wondering if this is related to that at all, or if this is just, we just want to do an adaptation on Crisis. And I ask because either they're going to try and tie it into the universe they have right now and then basically do like what they did with Marvel's Civil War, which is like a shorter, smaller scale version of Crisis with kind of a similar story but not the same thing, or they just kind of like take it on faith that DC viewers will know a lot of these characters and then just do a direct adaptation of Crisis on Infinite Earths with like all the characters and just like fuck it, like yeah, you can catch up or something. So like all the various characters from that story and also from different Earths from that story, I guess you'll just kind of have to like figure it out or something. I don't know if they would do that though, because that might be a little too confusing for general audiences, but it also
Yeah.
depends on like who they're marketing this to.
Like if Spider-Verse can excel and everybody just raves about it and loves it,
Yeah.
I think they could do this really well. Also, they just have to do it right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess the difference with Spider-Verse is that like that kind of has a core cast of like 2 or 3 or 4 characters that you follow, and then all the
Yeah.
multiversal variants are like they're there, but they're kind of, to just kind of emphasize the different variations. Whereas Crisis, at least from my memory of reading that story, is like there really isn't a main character. It's there are main characters, they're like different groups, but it's so all encompassing of the DC universe that
Yeah.
you would either just have to narrow it to a small group, which I think is probably why they're calling it Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths, or you just, I don't know, just like go all in on the adaptation and just say fuck it, like we're just gonna throw a bunch of characters at you and hope that you can catch up. I hope they don't do that, but I won't deny it would be kind of entertaining.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of like Injustice, actually. I don't know if you watched that animated version where it was,
No.
oh my god,
No,
it's just like
I
a
heard
million.
it wasn't really that
Oh my
great.
god, it's really funny. It's not good. I mean, it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not very good, but it's really funny, unintentionally so, because it's just a lot of things happening.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, I might check it out again one day just to hear George Newbern and Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, I mean they do a solid job, as is to be expected.
Yeah. All right, guess we should take a quick commercial break.
Right.
Because we've been talking for almost an hour now.
Yes.
All right, stay tuned. We will be right back.
Sweet.
And we're back. Thank you for sticking with us here. We are about to get into our reviews for the week, starting off with a series of honorable mentions, which I will bring up as Josh is not here. We have Batman the Brave and the Bold #3, your general compilation title. Anthology. I always get the wrong. I always forget the word anthology. I always say compilation, but
That's
same
like same thing.
same deal. Yeah. DC Ruby #6. Batman the Audio Adventures #7. All very interesting titles. Be sure to check those out. Poison Ivy Uncovered #1, series of covers, despite the fact that says uncovered, but we've had a few of these already. This time featuring Poison Ivy, basically an art book, and it's just gorgeous to look at. She's had so many great covers. As well as finally the Last Days of Lex Luthor #1, which I gotta say, really fucking good. I don't know how
Bit of
you
an
and Josh liked it
understatement, but
yet. Yeah, I fucking loved it. It's what spawned the comic question of the day I made the other day of what's your favorite villain, because I finished reading, I was like, fuck, I love Lex Luthor so much.
Is Lex not just one of the greatest villains?
He really is, if not the greatest villain.
I think what I mean, we won't go into this too much because we have books that we need to cover. But I think, at least for me, what makes Lex always so interesting is, aside from the fact that he always thinks he's the smartest person in the room, which to an extent he might be, he like has this, I don't know, this superiority distinction about him, this like superior attitude about him that always makes him so hateable but so intriguing to read at the same time.
Exactly, yeah. Like you think of him and you're just like, okay, he's like cookie cutter as a person. He hates aliens and he just wants to like take over the world. But he's got so many more layers to him than that.
Yeah.
Well, how many scientific evil geniuses could just steal 40 cakes and get away with it? Not many.
Some of the greatest scientific minds have tried, I'm sure, but none have ever come close.
No. It's much harder than it looks.
Oh yeah.
To steal 40 cakes and get away with it.
Yeah.
Because it's just terrible.
Everyone is like, oh wow, what a novelty. Like, yeah, I could get away with it. You can't.
I don't think they understand. It's as many as 4 tens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot of cake.
A lot.
But anyway,
for any listeners that are confused, look up the, what was it, DC mathematics book or something like that from like the 70s. Yeah. It's the best page ever made.
so excellent. And like, I forget where it was made canon or something like that. It might have been the Action Comics 1000 issue or something. But...
yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
Well, I actually found that yesterday. I got to look it up.
Oh yeah. No, someone made canon that story. And I was like, oh, my Lord, they actually did it.
Yeah.
Applause for that.
Yeah, you crazy bastards.
I know. But anyway, Last Days of Lex Luthor, incredible.
Yes, honestly, top tier.
Just had to endorse that. Also, pretending this is a sequel to Superman Birthright, because not only, I mean, it's already good as a standalone story in its own right, but I just love Birthright so much that it feels like it could very much just be a continuation of that story, especially with the flashbacks to Smallville, which are right out of Birthright. So I was like, all right, this is just a sequel. In my head, it's a sequel, and if any other people want to disagree, then they can do so. But
I'm seeing nothing but agreement. I've seen so many people online say that it's like a successor or a sequel to Birthright. I've heard nobody dispute that, because how can you really?
Well, if there's some kind of official confirmation, then I will feel validated in my way. But yeah, there's nothing, no one can disprove it right now. So but But yeah, no,
Yeah.
super good. Definitely check it out.
And additionally, there were 2 Night Terrors titles that we are not covering directly this week. That is Night Terrors Harley Quinn #1 and Night Terrors Angel Breaker #1. Both actually kind of interesting. I would say check them out. They're not heavily important, but the Harley Quinn title, I did only flip through it. I didn't get a full read on it yet, but it does kind of seem like it might tie into the main series. Possibly. Because they're talking about a lot of multiversal stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. And like she has a copy of the Multiversity guidebook. It's fantastic.
Oh man.
She goes flipping through universes and she looks at the page with Earth-Zero. She goes, boring. And it's like the new 52 characters. Like, okay.
Wow. Harsh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to read that one. I did read the Angle Breaker.
Angle Breaker.
That's my new Spider-Man villain. Yes.
That's just Bender the Bending Rodriguez.
Bender Bending Rodriguez.
Yeah.
No, I did read Angel Breaker #1. Just kind of one. I was like, why not? Like I read Punchline. That surprised me with how enjoyable that one was. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's solid. It's nothing stand out, but
Yeah.
mildly interested in the character. Sure, check it
Yeah,
out.
it's
And
for a character whose whole storyline has just been like in the background of various books over the past
Yeah.
year and a half. It's certainly got some interest,
Yeah.
especially if you care about the character. If you're interested in this character, definitely check out the story. Yeah, it's definitely enjoyable.
Yeah, and written by Tim Seeley. Just had to shout that out because he's usually pretty solid. Like I haven't read
Exactly.
anything of his, maybe aside from Robin's, that I actively disliked. So like
Yeah.
you will definitely not be like bored, but it's nothing incredible.
No, and it does feature fan favorite Grayson character Raptor.
After
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite assassin. Don't let Slade Wilson hear that. All right, we are going to get into our main reviews of the week. I know what you're thinking. Finally.
Finally. They are going to talk about it.
Yeah. And we're going to start off with Titans #1. KT Titans #1. Brandon, if you don't mind.
My pleasure. This is Night Terrors Titans #1, written by Andrew Constant. I don't know. With art from Scott Godlewski, colors from, I should have written that down. Ryan Cody, and letters from Wes Abbott. The premise of this is fairly simple. A mysterious woman breaks free of the ground of Titan's Tower and is escaping from the various nightmares through the aid of a mysterious voice that is sort of guiding her through the process. She envisions a way out, and in doing so, a bunch of stairs appear. And as she travels up and down, or just up those stairs, really, she encounters different doors that all have symbols related to the various Titans. First, she encounters Cyborg, who is going through his own personal nightmare. She is able to free him by showing him a mirror. She does this next with Donna Troy, and then with Starfire shortly after that, before finally arriving at Beast Boy. A bit strange, as we were just talking about Beast Boy in Beast World, as his nightmare is basically to be this horrifying unchained monster. Can't imagine that ever happening.
Yeah.
But apparently the mirror trick doesn't seem to be working, or at least the mysterious woman does not rely on it, I guess because it had cracked at some point after Beast Boy had attacked her. So the mysterious voice basically instructs her to say the following words, and that's when we kind of discover that person is Raven, sort of speaking to her and guiding her through the process. And in speaking to Beast Boy, she's able to calm Guard down, and he reverts back to his human state. But they finally make their way to the top of the stairs and try and walk through a mysterious door. And hopefully they could do that sooner than later, because in Indiana Jones fashion, a bunch of spikes on the ceiling are descending fast and are about to crush them. But the mysterious woman has the bright idea of using the mirror that she's been holding this entire time to cut her way through reality and open a hole outside to escape the tower. And thankfully, they're able to do that and escape, where they finally encounter Raven, who is in a non-corporeal state right now, and basically informs them that the nightmare they all have been experiencing are not their own individual nightmares, but rather the nightmare of Titan's Tower. So that's our story. I don't know.
It was oddly interesting.
Yeah, it's like it's an interesting concept. I kind of like the idea that like it's the tower's nightmare and it's basically just kind of holding them hostage with their own deepest fears. Like that's kind of a cool concept, but like with a lot of these night terrors, it's just very thin and hollow. And it just feels like it's lacking something. So with this one, like it's a fast-paced story and it reads well, but I don't know. It just feels kind of like a simple gimmick. And then once you have experienced it, you're like, okay, I'm done now. So I gave this an 8 out of 10. Like I had a decent time and the artwork was pretty good, but like there's really nothing stand out here. It's just like, oh, the Titans are trapped in the tower. Tower is having nightmares that are creating nightmares for each of the Titans, but they get saved and they break out, and now they have to try and stop the tower before the tower comes after them. The end. So there you
Yeah.
go. But yeah, 8 out of 10 for me. How did you feel?
Like I had kind of the opposite effect where
Okay.
I was sold on the plot up until you get that twist reveal that it's the tower's nightmare. Because I'm thinking this is a fucking building. It was just built. How does it have a nightmare?
I
I
don't
love
know.
the idea of the
It's the
Titans having
Titans
a shared
AI.
nightmare.
Apparently that has nightmares, even though robots aren't supposed to be affected by the nightmare wave. But don't
Yeah,
worry about
it's really fucking weird. Um, but I like the idea of the Titans having a shared nightmare,
it.
but there's that mystery of who is this girl with black hair that's with them. My initial thought
Yeah.
was Raven, but like
Same here. Yeah.
it also doesn't quite seem like it. Like it could be somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really curious as to what's going on there and who this person is. But that drew me into it, and like seeing the other Titans being basically tortured,
Yeah.
and then this one person has to save each of them.
Mm.
I thought was really interesting. Oddly enough, Wally's not there, which I thought was kind of weird because even in Flash, I think it's just Barry.
Yeah. And yeah, I was trying to think of where else he might be, but I don't even know.
I mean, this is the last week of number ones, so
Yeah. So
if he hasn't shown up yet, he's not going to.
yeah, probably not. But yeah, I guess that is a little weird because obviously Nightwing he's in his own night terror at the moment, so
Yeah,
he's not with the Titans. But yeah, I don't know where Wally would be. I don't know. Maybe Speed Force gives him the power to not have nightmares, even though Barry has nightmares. But
Speed
Wally has a
Force.
special connection to the Speed Force,
Yeah,
so that means he's a special resistance, obviously.
exactly. Speed
Um,
Force ain't gotta explain shit.
always Speed Force.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will say one thing that I thought was kind of neat was like each of the individual nightmares of the Titans kind of like, I mean, I'm sure this was intentional, but just kind of reflect some of their insecurities. I think like Cyborg's was that he was basically just like all machine. Donna's was like there's so many different versions of her. They were like morphing into a horrible creature. And then Gar's was obviously that he was a horrible beast that had no control over himself. And then I don't really remember what Corey's was specifically, but I'll have to look at that again. But yeah, I thought that was kind of nice. Like it just kind of reached into a lot of the stuff, the insecurities that they have. So clearly, like the story is well informed on the personalities of each of the Titans. But yeah, it feels like with a lot of these, it just kind of was missing something deeper for me at least.
Yeah. I can definitely agree there. It was the overall story that really drew me, but like
Yeah.
for each of the individual characters, yeah, that's definitely something that needs to happen a bit more. So it feels a little less personal and more just, I'm sure it's Titan, so it's a team book, but it's more just like yeah, no, I get what you're saying. It's missing a little something. Hopefully issue 2, while providing some answers, can give us a little bit more oomph in the title.
Hopefully.
But for now, 8.5 for me. Yeah. Yeah, that's about it. All right, now we're going to jump on over to Action Comics number 1. Sorry, Night Terrors Action Comics number 1. We're
I
now
mean, we can
jumping
read
back to
Action Comics number 1
1938.
if you want to, from 1938.
All right,
Review it.
written by what was shit?
Siegel
Who?
and
Yeah,
Schuster.
Siegel and
Yeah.
Schuster. One was the writer, one was the artist, wasn't it?
I think
Siegel was the
Schust-
writer.
yeah, or I can't remember. I think
I don't
Schuster was the
remember.
writer and Siegel was the
Siegel was
artist.
the artist. Yeah,
I don't remember.
whichever one was from Toronto was the artist. That's all I know.
Yeah.
No, but this is Night Terrors Action Comics number 1. Oddly enough, not featuring Superman at all, technically. We've got 2 stories on the docket because it's Action Comics, needs to have a backup. Why the hell not? The main story was written by Leah Williams with art from Vasco Georgiev, colors from Alex Guimaraes, and letters from Becca Carey. With on the cover, I must say, is a very gorgeous one. Rafa Sandoval and Matt
yeah.
Herms is very like The Shining.
I was gonna say,
inspired.
it felt like like the Here's Johnny moment.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining a version of The Shining where it's Power Girl and Cyborg Superman, and they're half robot, half Kryptonian kid.
Yeah.
Around.
Oh Jesus.
I know.
Here's
Horrifying.
Henshaw.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Someone needs to make that.
I honestly love this idea. All right, so this is so far Paige's nightmare, and she's pretty much on a whirlwind tour through her life. Opening up on Krypton, she's with a young man who basically threatens her life, so she runs away back home to find her parents have packed their things and are leaving her behind because they're just tired of her. Her mother breaks to pieces when Paige tries to stop her, and her father lets the boy in because he's just tired of Paige. Because this is a nightmare. It's fucking horrible. In the background behind the boy, you can see 404 Page not found error, which is quite interesting, seeing as this is supposed to be a nightmare, but that's foreshadowing for later. Paige does notice that something is a little bit weird. That realized that none of this is real, so she punches him in the face, and that boy turns into Kal-El from Earth 2, and all of a sudden she's in her Power Girl costume when she was on Earth 2. And Superman realizes that he was just punched in the face by this Power Girl robot, so he pushes a button on her chest and shuts her down, which is again also kind of interesting. Takes her back to a junkyard where she was built to have her basically crushed down because she's a faulty robot. And as she's crushed down, the program restarts again. Paige wakes up in her bed at home with Omen, who is waking her up because they're late for something. And they make it over to a theater where they're watching a performance take place, but from backstage. And as the scene is ending, Omen pushes Paige out in front of the audience, giving her a bit of fear. And stage fright, kind of lame on the fears for a superpowered person, but like I guess like I've had stage fright and I'm still call it lame. Paige tries to fly away, but Ullman stops her, and then all the audience members turn into zombies and start clapping for her as she continues to fly away. And there's even more errors. We see a bit of the real world where Paige is strapped to a machine and looking very thin, like she's starved and has been there for months. Oddly enough, it's really weird what we see there. But this is the system reboot, and the program restarts yet again. They're back at home. Streaky has been a little volatile and is attacking both of them to the point that Streaky even heat visions a hole through Omen's stomach, but she's still alive. And the system begins to reboot one more time, and using matrix text and binary, Omen puts Paige into a black cauldron full of green water. And that's where we end for now. Basically just like a trip through nightmares,
Mhm.
but machine based. It's not your typical night terror story because it seems Paige is strapped to a machine.
Yeah.
It almost looks like an induced dream. Um, but there's definitely some questions to be asked here, like what the fuck is going on? Is the
that was my
main
first
one?
question.
Yeah. And I think that might also be the next 6 questions.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll jump right into the backup real quick. This is written by Philip Kennedy Johnson with art from Miko Sueyan and Fico Ossi, colors from Romulo Fajardo Jr., and letters from Dave Sharp. If you notice, the creative teams have kind of swapped sides in the book for
Mhm.
this, which I thought was kind of interesting. This is the Stuff of Nightmares Part 1. Very simple title. You have Keenan, Connor, Natasha, and the Super Twins at home or at the Kent's apartment watching a horror movie because why not? It's not October, it's nightmare time. With
You can watch horror movies
Kellex,
at any time.
you really can, but like it's I don't know. I thought it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
With Connor kind of vouching for the movie that it's cultural impacts and is teaching the kids a bit of Earth culture while also giving Keenan some conversational English, such as chainsaw, final girl, don't split up. Yeah, because
All
that's
very
something
essential.
that's something you'll definitely just bring up in
Yeah,
casual conversation.
of
Final
course.
girl. Yeah. Just for anybody learning English as their second language, do not say final girl at like
Girl.
speed dating.
Oh God.
Definitely don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um so then Kellex goes to get some popcorn uh for some fucking reason. Oh, I see. No, he was picking it off the couch. I thought he was picking it out of the bowl. But that scares Osura because Osura is still kind of freaked out from Cyborg Superman, and a
Mhm.
robotic arm stretching across her is kind of creepy, which I get it. So
Yeah.
the kids are sent to bed, and everybody goes to sleep. And Osura has nightmares of Cyborg Superman. Wakes up, and Kellex has turned Connor into Cyborg Superboy. So also Ra wakes up everybody else and tells them what's happening. They look outside. Metropolis is on fire, and Warworld is back. And then Cyborg Superboy in a new body bursts out of the TV, and it's attacking them. Natasha suits up, but her suit gets taken over by Cyborg Superboy, and we find out Crypto has also been turned into Cyborg Superdog. Um, and shit's just fucked up. I never thought I'd want to see a horror story from Philip Kennedy Johnson,
It's pretty
but
good.
I'm sold. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's
No,
actually really fucking good.
it's pretty good, like honestly.
Yeah. And the art was
Um,
fantastic. I
yeah.
gotta say the art throughout was really good.
Mhm.
The page story was just really confusing, not really lackluster, but kind of just like
I just didn't understand it.
yeah, it's jumping
Yeah.
so much that
Um,
there wasn't much to really go on.
yeah. And I wasn't sure if her nightmare was that she would be trapped in some kind of, techno containment thing that would be giving her continuous nightmares, or if her nightmares are just a series of these events and also maybe some like techno trap. I just wasn't really sure like what was happening.
Yeah, it was really
Um,
confusing. That
yeah,
that's this one issue, like as much as I enjoyed it, I can't wait for number 2 just
yeah,
to get some answers.
yes,
And
yes.
I
Just
hope it makes sense.
yeah, for the main story anyway. The backup was like super clear.
Oh
And
yeah.
that one was probably again, some of these night terrors, like in my opinion, they've been a little thin. Um, but this one was just like it was just really well executed, I think. And the art
Yeah.
was definitely a big part of that too, because Miko Swyan, like I know him. I don't know if it's a him or her. But Miko Swyan I know did Bloodshot. If you ever
Oh
read
wow.
Jeff Lemire's Bloodshot, I was going through that Jeff Lemire phase, and I had like a million of his books I was trying to read, and I was like, Bloodshot, I'll read that. But he did the art for like the first arc, and then I think another one, and it was really good. But I just never really imagined him doing, kind of superhero stuff. So I saw he was attached to this. I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. I wonder what that will be. And I was more than impressed. Like it was just really something special. I absolutely love the design for Cyborg Superboy.
Yeah,
Horrifying, but really well
yeah,
done.
yeah. The backup really understood what was necessary for a horror story, and it felt like watching a horror movie,
Yeah, yeah,
which I think was the whole point. And while there was still that level of, okay, where does the dream come in? Like, what part of this is a dream and what part of this is not?
mhm.
Which I'm getting in a lot of these stories, which is kind of bugging me. Is this all also Ra's dream? I'm assuming it must be,
Maybe,
because
yeah.
it really
Or
made it
is it
seem
the?
like they were having a shared dream, but
Yeah,
like,
that was my thought as well.
yeah,
Because it's the whole family, and like I guess I don't know. I guess I thought for some reason, because it didn't show them falling asleep, at least not from what I remember. I gotta
no. Well, like, they all went to
I think
sleep at the
yeah,
same time.
yeah. I guess I kind of forgot that part. But yeah, I wasn't sure if it was, because I read it as it was all the dream that they were having together, like they were all in this shared nightmare of, the threat of the cyborg Superman infecting their family. But I guess it could just be Osel Ra's dream. I'm not really sure. Either way, it works. Like just as a horror short. So
Yeah. Um, maybe remind me if you can, or if you get it, because I don't think I picked up on it my first read through, but I'm looking again because I remembered
mhm.
the first couple of tie-ins they had. Fucking, what's the villain of the piece? Insomnia kind of just popping
Yeah,
up. And
yeah,
I was just going back to see if Insomnia was in this at all, but I didn't see him. But
no,
Kal-X, just before assimilating Superboy, said, "What are you afraid to lose, Danny? Let's find out." Like,
yeah,
what is that?
I don't know. Huh.
I don't know, that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Um, well, yeah, it was good
Mm. Yeah,
regardless.
no,
And
this
yeah, I
was
agree. Like, the design for Cyborg Superboy was just
oh,
horrifying.
it's sick.
It was
But
so
I
good.
mean, horrifying, but in a good way. And would I buy a action figure of it? Probably, but
Yeah,
not because I like that version of Superboy, just because it would look fucking awesome on my shelf.
yeah.
Um,
Very reminiscent, I'll say, of I was trying to remember the name of the book first. Future's End.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
Didn't even think of that. But yeah, those like cyborg designs.
yeah,
Like were the Olmec designs or something? Or was it the
yeah.
other eye infected? Something like that.
Where, like, with Cyborg Superman, it looks like a cyborg with skin put on top of it, but
Yeah.
this looks like the cyborg bursts out of the skin,
Yeah.
which is just so much more fucked.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I didn't get my score, 8.5 for this one,
Mm.
just to balance it out, because the backup was better than the first half. The first half was still interesting, but like very confusing.
Yeah. First half, like you said, solid read, but just
Mhm.
yeah, very, very confusing. And I just felt like, I mean, I again, like with a lot of these, the reads themselves, like it's a solid read and you can get through it without, too much problem. It's just I wish I could make sense of everything that happened. But yeah, I think the back out for me was really the standout.
Yeah.
Selfishly, I kind of wish it was a little longer. But oh well. Anyway, I gave the whole book 8.25 out of 10. Definitely the
Right on.
backup was really the star.
Fair enough. All right. And our last one for the week, Night Terrors Detective Comics #1, brought to us by Brandon.
My pleasure yet again. This is Detective Comics Night Terrors, or Night Terrors Detective Comics, issue #1, written by Dan Waters, aka the writer, Riccardo Federici, aka the artist, Brad Anderson, the colorist, and Steve Wands, the letterer. For some reason, they all have the before each role in the credits. I don't know why. I think it's supposed to be related to the title of the issue or of this arc, The Good People of Gotham, but
Yeah.
be wrong. Anyway, Jim Gordon is going through it, it seems, as it's snowing in Gotham in July, which doesn't make any sense, but like with
Hey,
a lot of things in this
global warming
world,
does a lot of crazy shit.
it really does. Unfortunately, Gotham is on the eastern seaboard of the United States, where it is hot as fuck right now. So I would gladly take some snow.
Yeah.
80 something degrees, and I've been melting for the past week. But anyway, it's snowing in Gotham, and that is not natural. And Jim is also just feeling the weight of everything that has been happening recently. I think, especially given the fact that some of the changes in Gotham have certainly made things a little bit harder. But just as he's about to give up, he gets a text from Barbara that kind of convinces him to keep going. He gets some pizza to take back to his detective's office, where he's been working with the kid that he partnered up with in the Detective Comics backups, known as Sorrow, who basically informs him that something is going on in Gotham, something very unnatural. And that's when we cut to a bunch of nightmare demons, entities, who knows, that are being summoned by some mysterious people. And really, they're just looking for trouble. They're looking for something interesting. They don't know what's going on. Or they have a rough idea, but they're just like, we just want to find some entertainment. And that is when they come upon some mysterious and creepy looking weirdos in masks, a group of three known as the Good Men of Gotham, who are summoning these people, or really just summoning anything. I don't know if it mentions if it's them specifically, but they're reaching out to the so-called pentapriests of the fifth dimension to ask for some things that might help them clean up Gotham City and possibly the rest of the world, as it's fallen into a state of disarray and disrepair at the moment. And I think possibly even surprising them, these entities show up, though I don't know if it's exactly what they had in mind. But basically, the three are asking for power, knowledge, and wealth to try and clean up the city. And the nightmare entities are kind of laughing at them, but decide to give in, just, to see what happens next. And Jim Gordon all the time has kind of been lurking in the background, trying to find out what's going on with Sorrow. But as stuff really starts to unfold and strange, weird, demonic energy is unleashed, Sorrow tries to run after them, and Jim is trying to catch up with him to make sure he doesn't get himself into trouble. But unfortunately, it's too late, as Sorrow is basically atomized right in front of Jim Gordon's eyes. And before he can have any kind of reaction, he basically gets conked on the head and falls unconscious. He comes to a little bit later, just hearing one word over and over in his head, Sorrow. But he puts in a call to Harvey to kind of ask about these mysterious good people of Gotham and anything else that he can find out about them. And that's when Harvey informs him that there's been some other strange sightings of a bat in Gotham, which Jim finds strange, as apparently the bat, as mentioned earlier, is not in Gotham City. So this bat can only be something much, much more sinister. And as Jim soon learns, it's actually a demonic, possessed version of Batman, inspired by the very bat suit he wore once upon a time in a story called Super Heavy that no one read because it was bad.
I read it.
I'm kidding. I was trying to get a rise out of you. But anyway, all the while he discovers that in the midst of this, he is cracking, or at least his skin is cracking, and he's slowly deteriorating. But he decides that before he completely falls apart, he's going to try and track down this mysterious Batman inspired by his own bat escapades, and discovers that this monstrous version of Batman is actually kind of looking up to him and admires his work and refers to him as yet another good person of Gotham. And because of that, he's going to let him live and continue on his good work. But he is going to go about his own version of justice his own way. But Jim, unfortunately, before he can really get any kind of upper hand, is slowly falling more and more apart, and decides that before he can try and take down this Batman, he needs to find out a little bit more about these mysterious good people of Gotham and just what exactly they were trying to summon. So he remembers that one of the names that was mentioned was Angelica, and so he tracks down one Angelica Vanderbar, someone who was certainly wealthy enough to have tried to go after this mysterious demonic summoning, and sort of corners her in her penthouse apartment, but quickly discovers that she's choking on a bunch of diamonds and is nearly choking to death. Tries to save her life by opening her lungs, or not her lungs, but opening her throat so that she can breathe through her lungs. But before he can do any of that, his body is still breaking apart. And really, he's just kind of standing on helpless as this woman is choking to death. All the while, the mysterious nightmare entities that had been summoned are just watching in the distance, amused at the chaos of it all. This was a solid one. I will definitely say as a Jim Gordon story, pretty good. I love the art. I think that for me was the standout more than anything, because the way that Federici draws not even just Jim Gordon, but all of these different nightmare entities and constructs and everything, especially the nightmarish version of Jim Gordon's bat suit was really something special. But yeah, the story itself, like it's pretty good. I wouldn't say it's amazing. I do really enjoy the writing of it all, but it does feel fairly simple. Like it's just Jim's nightmare is of a horrific version of Batman stalking the streets, and he feels like he's kind of helpless as he's slowly breaking apart, which in concept is pretty good, but I don't know, like it felt like, I don't know, maybe it could have gone deeper or something. I'm not sure. I did enjoy this one quite a bit, and you know, I again, the art for me was really stand out, but it felt like with a lot of these tie-ins, like I needed something more to really sell me on it completely. So
Yeah.
I gave this one an 8.25 out of 10. Not bad by any means, and certainly entertaining, but just something else I needed to really get me over the edge.
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely interesting. But I just haven't really been enjoying these Jim Gordon backups. I don't know how much I really care about this character Sorrow. Like he seems interesting, but just like it's kind of just happening, and I don't know. There's something about the stories just I don't care
Yeah.
about. Like it's not that interesting to me, and to have a whole issue dedicated to that character is just like, I care about Jim Gordon and his side of the story, which was really interesting, but involving Sora was just kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
what are we even doing with this guy?
Although he does get killed pretty early on, so
Yeah, but like,
you get
is he
your wishes
really dead?
satisfied. Yeah, yeah, that's
Right.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
it's
this
just
is a dream, then like nobody is really dead.
yeah.
Uh 8 out of 10. Art was solid, story was okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I enjoyed parts of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not very fair.
All right, that is our 3 books for the week. Be sure to check out our bonus show where we will have 2 books to review. I'm sure you can figure out what those are at this point if you're following track in every DC release this week. But before we get into that, I mean, we're not getting into that. If you want to get into that, you got to subscribe to our Discord for $2.99 a month US and get access to that bonus review on our Discord. But for us, we are going to bring up our top three books of the week. I was going to top 3 moments and favorite moment if we had one. You want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. At number 3, I had Night Terror's Action Comics number 1. Again, I think particularly for the backup, which was just really well executed and a solid read. At number 2, I had a book that we will get to in our bonus show, but that was Batman Beyond, Neo Gothic number 1. And at number 1, had to give it to Superman: The Last Days of Lex Luthor. Number 1, just impeccable, easily my favorite issue of the week.
What was your number 3?
Night Terrors Action Comics.
Oh, okay.
But my favorite moment from this week probably is from Night Terrors Detective Comics. There is I mean, there are just so many gorgeous panels in here. But really, I think the one that I loved the most was the moment where the nightmare entities first come after the summoning. They're just kind of like hovering over the good people of Gotham, the 3 kind of practitioners, and it was just such a well-drawn panel, so horrifyingly nightmarish, but just really well executed. I mean, the whole book for me was just gorgeous, but that panel in particular that actually felt like the most kind of horrifying panel,
Yeah.
or at least haunting panel, maybe not horrifying, but yeah, those are my top 3. How about you?
My top 3 is exactly the same.
Oh, what? Serious?
Yeah, I initially had Titans at number 3, but I had Titans and Action Comics tied for score. I was kind of flip-flopping between the two, but like after reviewing it with you, I decided, okay, like Action Comics definitely takes it.
Yeah.
But I had Batman Beyond Neo Gothic and Last Days of Lex Luthor in the exact same positions.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's
That's why I had to like double check with you, like, what was your number 3? Like, did I
Yeah.
hear that right? All
Same.
right. Favorite moment though, not the same. As beautiful as that page was, because that was one of my favorite moments of that issue, but my favorite moment of the week, 2 from Action Comics, kind of in the same vein, kind of tied. One for comedy, one for artwork. The comedy side is Kanan just rhyming off the horror movie phrases he's learned for casual conversation. And artwork, that page of Cyborg Connor showing up was just fucking
So
fantastic.
gorgeous.
Yeah. Really well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's honestly funny though. We have the exact same top 3. Like you said though, not surprising. There were some good books.
I mean, yeah, it's when there's a Batman Beyond book, like it's probably gonna be in my top 3 or top 5 at least. Especially this
Agreed.
series, because it's falling off of Neo Year, which was sublime.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
It's just I was really excited to get into that one, so it'll be nice to talk about it in our bonus show.
Exactly, and we are going to go record that right now, so be sure to check it out. As I've said already a few times, be sure to do that by subscribing to our Discord server for only $2.99 a month American, and visit our website, thegeekmatrixpod.com, for links to that and much more. Be careful out there. Remember, in the Geek Matrix, you are not alone.